You join us on Moneycontrol Live. I'm Manisha Gupta, and the big breaking for the edible oil as a sector and for FMCG and for consumers as well is the notification that the government did release last evening saying that the imports for edible oil reduction, the duty that was expected to end in March 2024 now has been extended until March 2025. That would mean that the cheaper imports of edible oils can continue into India. While, of course, it's a good news for consumer, but what does it mean for farmers and, of course, for the industry is something that we will discuss with Nirav Desai of GGN Research. Nirav, hi, thank you so much for joining us. And even as the industry has been expecting, even wanting that the lower duty cuts should perhaps get over with, because India has seen cheaper imports, bigger imports into the country in this year. But what we actually have is extension of these duty cuts. What is the first industry reaction to this?
So we're not at all surprised. I think we never thought that there would be any change, because we know how concerned the government is. Just now, they don't want any chance for inflation to rise. So I think this 5.5% duty on the crude oils extension is completely was expected by the government, by the industry.
Okay. What does it mean, one, for the consumers?
So for consumers, yeah, I think the Indian government, till the new general election is over, I think they want to be very, very agile and vigilant that there is no chances of price increase. So I think consumers can be very relaxed as far as edible oil prices are concerned.
But you know what, Anita, when you look at the wholesale prices and when you look at the retail prices, what I pay, there's a big difference between that. Do you think there is something that needs to be done for that?
See, I think knowing the Indian system of consumer goods, and especially these essential commodities, a very efficient system. I think that is the inherent cost of distribution in India. Otherwise, if you ask me as a market participant, I've tried and seen that majorly, especially in the areas where the middle class and the lower middle class live, the price competition among retailers and all that is quite good. So I don't think there is much the industry or the government can do. I think this is one of the lowest way of reaching the consumer, or the lowest cost of reaching to the consumer.
Nirav, the second question now that is that while of course we've seen the input costs go down, how do you look at the downstream companies, the FMCG companies for that example? Have we seen this decline being passed off to consumer?
Yeah, I think this is completely passed on to the consumer. We call this in the edible oil industry that even a 50 paisa per liter cost reduction, if it comes to the company, they are more than happy to pass on. And if they wish to retain it also, their channel partners and all them use all their pressure to negotiate and take that extra 50 cents also, 50 paisa also from them.
Okay. Third is, what does it mean for the industry, the crushing industry that is? I mean, we do understand that the margins have been under pressure. Now, with this extension coming in, how is the industry reacting to this?
See, for the farmer and the crushing industry, it's not a very welcome news, because the farmer is not getting a very high price. Then again, we'll get into that vicious cycle of lower oilseed production. For the last 2 years, we've seen good domestic oilseed production in India. Similarly, if we will not have very good oil prices, the crush margins for the industry, the crush industry is not going to be good, because farmer will always be very resistant to sell at a lower price, whereas the imported edible oil prices, the cheap prices will come into the country, and the local oil prices will always be compelled to be lower.
So what has it done to the prices with an immediate effect? We do understand that many of these agri or commodities are now close to MSP, some of them even below MSP, because of the way the government reaction has been to ensure availability and affordability. What is the case when it comes to edible oil as a sector? Soybean, for example.
The soybean is practically trading near the MSP. Mustard was also trading near the MSP. But as I said, the bigger issue is, we have to understand when in 2021, when this Ukraine-Russia war happened and when Indonesia banned, at that time, mustard oil was cheaper than palm oil. At that time, groundnut oil was trading nearly the price of palm oil, whereas it has at least a 200 to 300 rupees per 10 kg difference in prices. So these were the oils, the domestic oils that saved us when there was international chaos. So we need to ensure that the domestic production of oilseed does not fall. And for that, we have to take care of the farmer and also the domestic crush industry.
Nirav, also talk to us about the price sense from here on. I mean, we do know we are the biggest importers of vegetable oil, but for 2023 as a calendar year, how much of percentage extra have we imported because of this lower duty?
So because of this lower duty, the import has been very good. We have imported about 160 lakh tons last year. And I would say the domestic oil seeds we are already seeing are carry forward to the next year. The soybeans have been carry forward by 12-13 lakh tons. For mustard, we are seeing that there is a 12 lakh ton stock with the NAFED, and maybe the farmer will carry. So this automatically shows that we have brought in more imported oil, which was cheap, and we did not crush the domestic oil seeds, and they were kept aside as a stock. So I think this has impacted the market, and there has been more import of cheap edible oils, imported edible oils.
All right. So what can be expected now going forward? Do you think the cheap imports will just about continue? Do you see that impacting us? And also, would you say that, or for the consumers rather, have the edible oil prices bottomed out, or do you see further decline?
So I think I'll take question one by one. For the, I would say the consumer, the prices are going to be stable here. It's not going to be a big rally at all because the domestic markets are well supplied, the international markets are well supplied. So no worries for the consumer. But if we talk about the price trend, I think overall we are seeing that there is a slight tightness in stocks in palm in Malaysia and Indonesia, especially for the JFM period. So they could be little supported there. But in the second half of the year, from AMJJ period, that's April to July period, we're going to have the big record South American crop coming in, which will keep all the other imported edible oils under check. And the 22 million stock, the 22 million Argentinian crop is going to be this year around 48 million. So there is a big jump in Argentina, a very small reduction in Brazil, maybe of a 4 or 5 million. So overall, net, the South American supply is going to be very good. So the second half of the year, it will be depressing. As far as the domestic farmer and the crush industry is concerned, I think they are not going to have a big scope of rise in the prices.
All right. So good news for consumers, not so good for farmers and perhaps the industry. Nirav, thank you so much for joining us with your sense on the edible oil as a sector.
Thank you.